A short Q&A, so feel free to ask questions at that point. John Alschuler will be on the stage at that time, and then after that I'll try to get as many interview requests in as possible. We'll do some one-on-ones with Marcelo and with John and with Robert Hill. At this time I'd like to introduce Robert Hill. He's the general manager of the Intercontinental Hotel Miami.
Thank you, Tad. I think they set this microphone up for my height and not for Tad, so I don't have to bend down. Thank you all for being here today. It's great to see the renaissance of downtown Miami as it continues to grow as the great global city that it is. It truly has become a center for cultural arts and entertainment. And what we're here to talk about today is just one great addition to that entertainment venue that the urban core of downtown Miami continues to become. It is also, when I look at it personally from right outside the hotel here, the riverwalk that exists around the back of the hotel, around One Miami, up through Bayfront Park, and is now going to connect on through the American Airlines Arena, the new stadium for MLS, and up to Museum Park, is just going to create this great waterfront in our city that continues to solidify it as the great international city that it has become. Personally, I'm from Europe. I love soccer. Liverpool's my team, so I wasn't a big David Beckam fan growing up because he played for Man United. But when he moves here to Miami, I'll certainly will be a Miami Beckam United fan. So adding soccer to this city just makes so much sense. It is a passion of South America, Latin America, and the European influence in this city as well, that it just makes sense to have a Major League Soccer team in Miami. And it's great that that time is now to continue the growth of downtown. With that said, it's my pleasure to introduce one of the principals in making this happen. He is a lover of Miami. He's also a lover of soccer, and passionate owner of Bolivar soccer team already. So Marcelo Claret, it's my pleasure to welcome you, CEO and founder of Brightstar, and one of the principal partners in bringing Miami Beckam United to downtown Miami. Marcelo.
Well, thanks, Robert. I gotta move the microphone a little up. So thanks, Robert, for those nice words. I definitely share the enthusiasm, and I think all of you will share the same after you learn what we have in store for downtown. On behalf of David, Simon, and myself, I want to thank everyone for showing up today, and obviously for your continuous fans that we have for showing your continuous interest and support of this project that we're trying to bring to Miami. Most of you may know or may not know, but soccer is my passion. It's something that I have been involved for many years in my life. When I was 23 years old, I was part of the Bolivian Soccer Federation, and back then we took Bolivia to the World Cup for the first time in my country's history. The 1994 World Cup was what introduced soccer to the United States, as the World Cup was celebrated in the United States. 5 years ago, in my quest for soccer ownership, I bought Bolivia's largest soccer team. It's known as Club Bolivar, and we're celebrating because we just won the biggest match in the history of my team, and we're in the semifinals of Copa Libertadores de America. And that's the beauty of soccer. How can a small team from a small country like Bolivia, which is the second poorest country in Latin America, can beat the champion of Brazil, the champion of Mexico, the champion of Argentina, and that's why I love this sport so much. Now, as most of you know, soccer is the world's most important sport, and it has a way of bringing people together better than any other sport. The FIFA World Cup, which is going to be celebrated next month, is by far the biggest sporting event in the world, and it is expected that we're going to have over 1 billion people around the world watching the sport on a daily basis. Meanwhile, soccer is growing in the United States. It is a favorite sport among Hispanics, And as we all know, Miami has a great population of Hispanics, and is the second favorite across the board in youth from 12 to 24. And one thing that's incredible of Miami is more people are watching the World Cup in Miami than any other city in the United States, meaning that people in Miami love the sport. I have personally been a Miami resident for 17 years. This is where I live. This is where I raised my family. This is where I founded my little business back 17 years ago. Today, my company that I founded is a $20 billion company and is the world's largest distribution company in the wireless industry. What kills me is that the most dynamic and cosmopolitan city in the US, Miami, doesn't have a soccer team. And what I have to do is I have to fly many hours to Bolivia to go watch soccer. So I'm looking forward to that day where I can just drive to downtown Miami and be able to watch a great soccer game right here in our city. I've been trying to bring soccer to Miami for a while. For those of you who have accompanied me in this effort, I started back in 2008 when I did a joint venture with FC Barcelona, which back then was the world's greatest soccer team, and some people argue that it still is. The financial crisis of 2009 basically stopped that project, and since then I've been waiting for the right opportunity to bring soccer to Miami. And I think right now is when all the stars are aligned. I say this is because soccer is becoming more and more important in the US, but also I think that I have found the right partners to embark in this venture. It's great to partner with two great people. First, Simon Fuller. For those of you who don't know Simon, he's one of the most creative minds in this planet. He was the founder of American Idol. And then secondly, obviously David Beckam, that all of you know. But David Beckam is by far today the world's most recognized sports figure. As you know, David Beckam is loved by men, is loved by children, and definitely loved by women. David and Simon are 100% committed to this project. As David has confided to me, apart from family, this is the most important project of his life right now. His aspiration is to become a great owner, and his aspiration is to do it here in Miami. Now let's get to the reasons why we're here. We started this process with the goal of identifying the best site for a world-class soccer venue, and we believe now that we have found the right location. As most of you know, things have been happening quickly over the past few weeks and months. Major Jimenez asked us that we explore the FEC slip as a possible site for a soccer park. Working with Mayor Jimenez and Mayor Regalado, we have created a vision for the FEC slip that we believe will achieve the goals we have laid out from the start. We want to bring the world's greatest game to the world's greatest city. We want to do it as an urban destination for the entire community, and more importantly, we want to do this without using city or county dollars. We have always favored an urban location, and after engaging with the community in the past few months, we're confident as ever that downtown Miami and MLS soccer are a perfect match. Look at some of the great urban centers around the world, from Madrid to London to La Paz to Kansas City in the US. We're as confident as ever that we're going to be able to bring that experience to the heart of the city. Downtown offers by far the best public transportation connections. It brings a diverse base of business that will cater to our fans. As you know, in soccer, you cater to our fans before the game and you cater to our fans after the game. Also very importantly, as you know, our stadium is going to be watched all over the world. As we bring this team, it will be one of the most iconic teams in the world. But most of all, I think the most important reason why we have selected this site is that the FEC slip allows us to create even a greater public park along Biscayne Bay. By expanding Museum Park over 20%, we're going to create a year-round destination for Miami residents and its visitors. All are going to be situated around world-class museums and hopefully around a world-class soccer venue. Our fans are going to be able to walk to the matches without interruption, starting from Brickell Avenue, or arrive via public transportation, even high-speed rail. David, Simon, and myself believe that the plans we envision for an expanded museum park will create a fan experience like no other in America. We still have a lot of work to do. Plans have to be finalized. We still need a proposed agreement between the city and the county, and most importantly, we need to win the support of the city residents in a referendum vote. To summarize, there are three things I want you to remember. If we do the stadium, we're going to create a bigger park. The park is going to grow by over 20%. We don't plan to use any government, any city, any county money to build our stadium. And thirdly, we respect the referendum. Because as David has said, this is the people's team, and we need the people's voice to show that they want soccer in Miami. We want to look forward to sharing our vision with our community and to bring in soccer, as you know, sports that I'm very passionate about. Now it's my pleasure to introduce John Alsugar, who has helped create the initial vision of what our soccer park will be. John and his team have been involved in design and implementation of some of the world's greatest urban spaces, and with his help, we're going to continue the tradition here in downtown Miami. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosa. It's fabulous for me and for our team to work with three extraordinary and very different individuals. You have one of the world's greatest footballers in history, David Beckam. You have one of the most extraordinary and creative minds in entertainment, Simon Fuller, and a special and innovative entrepreneur in the wireless industry, Marcel Claret. They're united by three things. They're united by a passion for the game. They're united by a love of your city, a love of Miami. And I think most importantly, they're united by a commitment to excellence. Each three is the best in their profession. And they're leaders and they're people of enormous integrity. And I think they bring to this city a capacity to do something very special, which is what I want to present and outline to you today. So we've been clear since we began this dialogue with the community, and we began this dialogue with your elected officials, that we have four criteria. The first is we want an unparalleled fan experience. And I want to thank the fans. I want to thank the Southern Legion. There are hundreds, there are going to be thousands, and by the time this team is here, there are going to be tens of thousands. So this is first and foremost about the Southern Legion and the fans. We want an iconic urban destination. Soccer is an urban sport. It's not a sport to be played in a parking lot off an interstate interchange. Its energy, its excitement, its activity is urban and part of downtowns and part of cities. We want to be an economic asset to this great city and this county. And finally, it's transactional. The MLS, the growing, increasingly important league of which we are members, they have said unequivocally, they will grant a franchise to this city only if it's downtown. So it needs to be downtown to exist, and it needs to be downtown because that's good for the fan, good for the city and the county. Now, let's talk about Museum Park. Museum Park is a precious, important, special place. It's a place that needs to be a civic destination. And I've been lucky enough to work on waterfront parks all over the United States. I've worked in waterfront parks in my home, New York City. I've worked on them in our nation's capital. I've worked on them in St. Louis. I've worked on them in Cincinnati. I've worked on them in many other places. To drive activity to a waterfront park, you have to do exactly what you've already done. You need to give the community reasons to come and enjoy it, and enjoy the special place. Your two new museums are a beginning, and we're going to be very proud to bring a complementary audience, broader audience, a diverse audience to this special place. And we, as we said at the port, we want to be good neighbors. We will be good neighbors. And we'll be good neighbors to the park. We'll be good neighbors to the museums. The vision I'm going to show you exemplifies that. Now, I don't want to dwell too long on this, but we've seen a history of diminishing resources in this park. Your community started out long before we had a vision, with a very grand, very bold vision of Museum Park. It was a $128 million budget in 1997, called today's dollars a $150 million budget. Frankly, that's not unrealistic for a park of this character. As the financial constraints have come, as the limitations on the taxpayers' resources have had their effect, the budget today is $10 million. The park needs investment and resources to obtain the vision that has been that of the city and that of the city residents for a decade. This is that original vision. It's full of life. It has in it 2 museum pavilions. It has in it a series of groves and trees. And I'd ask you to notice one thing here. There's an item there which is the current pumping station, which blocks the view and will always block the view because it's $250 million to move that station. So the park has a narrow throat entrance, which this plan can't change and we don't seek to disturb. This is what's evolved. There's no shade. There's none of the children's features. There's none of the places for people to gather. There's no place to have an ice cream with your child. There's no place to have a glass of wine and enjoy the view. It's a skeleton of a park, not a fully fleshed out, robust park design. Secondly, it costs resources to maintain a park like this. We've looked all across the United States and we know what it takes to maintain these parks. It can cost $25, $100, $250,000 an acre. Resources that the taxpayer currently lacks. And great parks come in different sizes, they come in different shapes. This isn't a standard widget, you know, it's not like a cell phone, it's not like a commodity that has a shape. You see Discovery Green on the left, the great park that's fueled much of the energy in downtown Houston, 12 acres. You see Millennium, you see the Highline, which is this long squiggly line, 7 acres. And then you see our vision of Museum Park, 23 acres. Now, we have certain principles of park design. We didn't invent these principles. We don't claim credit for them. But these are the principles that have made great parks. And these are the principles that will guide this great park. The first is a long, continuous waterfront edge. As Marcelo said, what's special about Miami is where land meets water. And the longer that edge, the more robust it is, the more fulfilled it is, the greater the park. There are signature destinations in these parks. This is a pavilion in Discovery Green, where there are concerts, there are movies, there's activity. There's active programming. All of you know this image. This is the beautiful site of New World Symphony, Miami Beach. And we'll create at no cost to the taxpayer this kind of video floor on the side of the stadium. So in a month, people would come and watch the World Cup. On a Friday night, people will come and watch the movies. People come and be entertained in the park 365 days a year. And what we're doing is fairly common in American cities. This is the great Daniel Burton waterfront of Chicago. And what you see is a stadium abutting 2 fabulous museums nestled in a great park system. So the idea of using sports, using culture to animate waterfront, to animate civic space, is in the greatest traditions of American civic building. So let's talk specifically here. This is the transformation that excites us. On the left, you see the current configuration of Museum Park, less than 19 acres. On the right, you see the configuration that Mayor Regalado and Mayor Jimenez have proposed to their respective commissions. It's 20% bigger, and it's much, much more than 20% better, because the orientation of the park doesn't run between a 6-lane road and a patch of water. The orientation of the park now runs across your greatest resource, which is Biscayne Bay. It's now truly a waterfront park. So we've made it 20% bigger and 100% better. Here's what the stadium looks like in the park. This is a preliminary rendering. The park sits behind the sewage treatment pumping station. Its function really is to screen a rather blank wall presented by American Airlines Arena of the vista from the museums. And it then allows for this spectacular green space along the water. 20% bigger, 100% better. This is the getting out of it. We're adding 8.5 acres of new parkland. That will be done, and let me underscore this point, at 100% paid for by private dollars. Not a dime of public money will go to create close to 9 acres of new parkland. Then Museum Park donates 4 acres to the site of the stadium, leading to this net increase in land and increase in the quality of the land. So let's try and envision how it works. You know, you're building a grand vision that takes generations to do, which is to create a continuous waterfront edge that runs from Brickell, past Bayfront, under Port Boulevard, to the great Museum Park, then north under MacArthur, to the northern edges of downtown. We want to be a great node along this great waterfront. Now, we're just beginning to design the process. We're 14 days in now, past the rather interesting letter I received from Mayor Jimenez. But we have 3 principles that we've worked on. One, we want a stadium that's a park-compatible structure. You can't lift the dramatic design we had at Port Miami and put it here. It was a great design for Port Miami, but we need a new vision of a park-compatible stadium. We want to contribute to Museum Park, and the presence of the stadium should be an amenity for park goers and drive energy and activity in the park. And we want to create one of the most beautiful homes for soccer in the world, so that Miami Stadium ranks with the great stadiums in Madrid, in Barcelona, in London, as a venue for soccer. So here's a vision. This is what the sweep of the park will look like along Biscayne Bay, from the remarkable building of Pam on the north. And this is what Museum Park can never be without this intervention. A grand sweep of abundant acreage along a great bay. And this is why we passionately believe that the park is a better park for this community. This is the view of the stadium from the park itself. And what you see is a stadium like this community and any community in America has never seen before. It's a stadium in which the park is brought into the stadium. The concourse, the circulation system is open to the air, and there's landscape and trees in the concourse. So as you're looking from the park, it feels like the park has been integrated into the stadium itself. And at the park level, what you're seeing are those cafes, those restaurants, those spaces. So when you go with your children and they want an ice cream, you got a place they can have it. When you go with your family, you want to have a hamburger, you want to have a bottle of wine, you have a place to do it in the park in the evening. The current design of that park at 7 o'clock at night will have a space that's unwelcoming, desolate, no activity. With this stadium and this activity, the park becomes what it can be: vibrant, energized, and a community resource. And here's the view and this is absolutely 100% accurate. This is what the view will be from Knight Plaza. This is the plaza between the 2 museums. And as you see, you're looking north. The stadium essentially acts to screen Triple Airlines Arena. There's no view impediment for the museums whatsoever. other than having one lower-rise, more gracious structure block a view of another structure. You see, just by way of comparison, AAA is about 150 feet in the air in height. We believe the stadium will be somewhere in the high 80s, maybe the low 90s in terms of height. It's a much more low-rise and park compatible entity. So, what's our commitment to Miami? I'll do this quickly because it essentially reiterates what Marcelo has articulated on behalf of himself and David and Simon. It's bringing the world's game to the World City. It's creating an enhanced museum park. And it's building a youth academy and programs around the city to promote the next generation of great soccer players. Now, we have another commitment, which is, as Marcelo said, David has always referred to this as the People's Club and the People's Team. So the people should decide. We embrace and look forward to bringing this to the voters in November. We believe that it will be embraced by an overwhelming margin. The love for soccer, the desire to enhance downtown, the desire to create economic activity, the respect for the taxpayer dollar will resonate and generate and drive support. And it will be a fair deal for the taxpayers. There will be no city funds, there will be no county funds in the construction of either the stadium or the 8 new acres of parkland. That will be done 100% by the team. And as we've said consistently, we will make a fair payment for the land to the government. So let me thank you. Let me again thank our fans and thank the Southern Mission. Questions for myself and Marcel. Marcel, you want to come up here and join me? Andres. The views of Biscayne is a side of the stadium where we're evolving right now. This is a 12-day process, 14-day process, and we look forward when those images are available, which I hope to have them available in the near term, so sharing those with everybody here. Yes?
Quick question. You had spoken about spending $250 million in the last plan. Do you have an estimate in how much the buying the land and the construction of everything will cost here? And secondly, I don't see any parking in this rendering. Is there any parking?
We've done some preliminary numbers, and we think the cost of execution of this plan is likely to be roughly similar to the execution at Port Miami. I think that number is going to evolve a little bit as we do some more detailed studies, but it's going to be roughly the same. There are 10,000 parking spaces available in downtown Miami on Saturday night when the vast majority of our games are played. A little bit less, but still an abundant parking resource on Wednesdays evenings. This is mostly a Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, and the answer to both parking and the issue of traffic is we're going to activate downtown when downtown is not activated. We're going to bring people downtown on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. We're going to utilize the parking that's here. And we use the transportation system that exists that brings so many people here for rush hour, and we'll bring them here at a time in which downtown is at its most passive.
John, a little bit, good morning, a little bit about the park. Miami's mayor has said publicly that he would like to be reimbursed for the $12 to $15 million rehab, seawalk, etc. That's sort of part one. Part two is, how does Miami then sustain the operations of a big, beautiful park after it's built?
We're going to be making a $20 to $30 million investment that will improve the investment already made by the city in the FEC slip. And while our discussions are ongoing with them and with others, it's our hope that people will
two, how do you plan to get around climate change sea level rise, which is projected to overtake that area of water?
We will be in 100% compliance with the environmental regulations of the county, which has regulatory approval here, of the state, and of the federal government. We've studied this question very carefully, and we're very confident that the environmental approvals will be forthcoming. I mean, let's remember, everything from Biscayne Boulevard out is man-made. There's nothing natural about this shoreline. There's nothing natural about, the sea bottom here. This is not a creation of nature. This is a creation of an intrusion of man into the environment. We'll make the environmental quality better. The water in the slip today doesn't circulate. It's brackish. It's an environmental detriment to Biscayne Bay. And we are very, very, very confident that the quality of Biscayne Bay will be better after this change than it is today.
Two questions. Question number one, in your original proposal for the drawings that you did for the port, you indicated that besides the stadium, you wanted to have a nightclub, restaurants, a hotel, commercial buildings. Where do you envision any of that? Or do you envision that you're going to pay all of this just for a stadium? That's number one.
Those sorts of commercial activities have no place in the park, and we have no intention of pursuing them in the park.
But do you have intentions of pursuing them with the city and the county elsewhere?
Look, if there's land that's made available, Miami-Dade's a big county. Marcelo is a very entrepreneurial and innovative man. We're not going to speculate about, Patty, you've been patient with your hand.
I'm just wondering where UN fits with this picture. Where are you in your talks with them? Because wouldn't that create a much bigger stadium and more of a parking situation if you're still in talks with them?
The invitation to examine this site came to us, as I said, 14, 15 days ago. We just received the endorsement that we're very grateful from Mayor Regalado and Mayor Jimenez on Monday. We need to take stock. We need to re-engage with the university, and I think it's premature to speculate on that.
We're going to do two more questions.
Well, I want to follow up my second question. I didn't answer my second. I didn't get a chance to answer my second question. My second question is this: since the taxpayers have already paid $15 to $20 million through the fine fund to redo that edge of that property, are you in fact saying that the taxpayers should go ahead and eat that money, that you don't want to reimburse the city and the county for that particular amount of money, and we should expect that you're going to just build a stadium and that should be the even Steven of it?
It's like, let me just give you an example, sir. If I own a Chevy and somebody says, I'm going to replace it with a Cadillac, I should consider that a pretty fair transaction. So we're going to make that area better. We're going to make it more environmentally compatible, and the taxpayer is going to receive tens and tens of millions of dollars. This is a win for the taxpayer of the city, a win for the taxpayer of the county, a win for the taxpayer of the state. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you're confident of winning the referendum in November. How much of an active role is David going to play in persuading people? Are we going to see him doing a lot of town hall meetings and going out there and trying to change the discourse?
I think, you'll see David as a very active presence. I think you'll see him as a regular visitor. As Marcelo said, he loves Miami. He views it increasingly as a second home for himself. And I think that you'll see him as a very active, very committed presence. Again, absolutely Marcelo. This is, other than his family, the most important commitment he has in his life. And, David didn't become the captain of his team, didn't become one of the most renowned footballers without enormous intelligence and enormous discipline. And that same discipline that he's brought to his whole life, he'll bring to this endeavor.
Guys, one more question, and then we're going to do a few one-on-ones in the back of the room. Glenn.
Thank you. John, I remember you talking about the plans for the Port Miami site that are now dead and the future, some development that will help make your team profitable. Can you talk about whether this site might be as profitable and good because it's okay to do good business, you realize that. And will it be as good for the team as the Fort Miami site in that way?
Well, let me give you a two-part answer to that, because there's an inaccurate premise in the introductory clause. The commercial development that was envisioned in Port Miami was never part of the financial plan of the team. We included that because we were asked to by Mayor Hemmings as a loss prevention. And we never envisioned that there would be a subsidy from commercial development to underwrite the activity of the team. That's, what's the polite term, a canard. I could use another term. You know, in regard to your final question, we are extremely confident that this is going to be a great team and a great franchise and commercially successful. You know, Marcelo, Simon are aggressively talking to investors all over the world. The appetite for investment in this team is far, far greater than the opportunities to invest. You know, if you love soccer, if you understand the economics of soccer, if you understand the position soccer is increasingly playing in the United States and the world, you understand immediately, as Marcelo did when he made his investment. You know, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Marcelo, but I think you made the investment out of your love in soccer and your businessman. And, you know, this is a great investment in a great growing sport in a great city.
Ted, San Diego's Univision 23, is there any way that we can get Marcelo to please speak to the podium in Spanish for 60% of the voters in Beckam? Gracias. Muchas gracias, Marcelo. Por favor, si nos pudiera hacer una breve presentación de lo que han dicho.
Hoy día es un día especial porque hoy día presentamos a toda la gente de Miami nuestro plan, que nos gustaría tener un estadio para expandir el parque de Miami, el parque Museum Park. Tenemos tres premisas que son muy importantes. Eso vamos a hacer con intención de que sea un mejor parque, de añadir a la ciudad, no quitar a la ciudad. Segundo, de que estamos preparados para nosotros invertir y no utilizar dinero del condado ni de la ciudad. Y tercero, estamos muy claros de que para que este proyecto pase, para traer el estadio al parque, vamos a necesitar un referéndum. Y para eso, como lo hemos dicho el primer día, pensamos de que el equipo de Miami es un equipo de la ciudad y por eso necesitamos la voz de la ciudad y nos sentimos confiados en que es un proyecto donde todas las estrellas se han alineado para finalmente poder traer soccer o fútbol, como decimos en español, a Miami, y nos sentimos muy ilusionados con que este proyecto pueda salir adelante.
Señor Maure, buenas tardes. Ustedes han hablado aquí de estadios, se han comparado estadios de Chicago, New York, ciudades que tienen sistemas de transporte masivo. Miami no lo tiene y posiblemente no lo va a tener en las próximas décadas. Hablaban de que hay 20.000 parqueos, pero 10.000 de esos estacionamientos van a desaparecer en 6 meses cuando comienza la construcción en los terrenos en donde hoy estacionan los fanáticos del American Airlines. ¿Ustedes tienen alguna propuesta específica para el tema de los estacionamientos? Porque se calcula que van a venir 7.000 vehículos para un estadio de ese tamaño.
Sí, hay varias cosas. Si uno trata de encontrar en Miami un lugar donde uno pueda llegar utilizando el transporte público, es definitivamente downtown. Es más, me atrevo a decir que es el único lugar dentro de Miami donde se puede decir algo así. Lo lindo de este estadio es vamos a tener la capacidad de gente de poder caminar desde Brickell, donde hay muchos parqueos, donde vive mucha gente, y segundo, se espera entre 6.000 a 7.000 vehículos. Y como hemos dicho, nunca vamos a tener un mismo evento en American Airlines Arena y en el estadio. Nosotros vamos a adecuar al calendario de ellos, lo que significa de que existen todos esos parqueos disponibles, y el estudio preliminar que hemos hecho es que existen suficientes parqueos hoy día y en el futuro en la área que rodea el estadio para no tener necesidad de tener que construir mayores lugares de estacionamiento.
Yo acabo de entrevistar a la autoridad de parqueos de Miami y me dijo que en este momento ellos no están preparados para este número de vehículos, me lo acaban de decir en una entrevista. ¿Hay posibilidad de que ustedes inviertan en un terreno privado para construir, como lo hicieron, por ejemplo, con el estadio de los Marlins o como lo tiene el estadio de los Dolphins en Sun Life? ¿Hay posibilidad de que ustedes también inviertan en un terreno privado y construyan un garaje propio o no?
Todo esto es nuevo, ¿no? Hace par de semanas no teníamos conocimiento de que este terreno podría ser una posibilidad. Entonces, en un periodo de 12 días hemos tratado de analizar, hemos visto si llenan las características que queríamos. Entonces, yo creo que todavía queda mucho análisis por delante. Como siempre lo hemos dicho, nuestra intención es añadir a la ciudad y no quitar a la ciudad. Los primeros estudios de parqueo que hemos hecho significa de que tenemos suficientes parqueos utilizando el parqueo existente el día de hoy. Entonces lo que tenemos que hacer es sentarnos con la misma gente que tú has conversado y poder tratar de comparar notas y ver qué ven ellos diferente a lo que vemos nosotros.
One more from Marcelo, we're going to do it in the back. Go ahead.
The question will be not all of us that to that is when are we going to name officially? I think it's wonderful for our looking at other names and soon to announce something.
So Miami Beckam United is not the name of the team. Some people will get confused. We have a plan, a very integral part to integrate the community into helping us name the team. I think it would be unfair to have a team named without a stadium plan. So I think, first and foremost, Major League Soccer has made it very, very clear. No stadium in downtown, no team in Miami. So that's why you're going to see us work real hard. You're going to see David, Sandro, and myself, we're going to give it all we have to make sure that we can put our value proposition forward to Miami voters to make sure that they endorse this project.